actually have working Yubel for you today. Melodious jumps into action, and we have some other interesting builds for the new meta. Make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. I did not think that we would see Yubel, of all things, jump into action this week, but Nightmare Throne here changed so much of what we've expected as a norm out of Yubel at this point. Like, I'm actually so shocked. Remember, on activation, you take a Fiend monster with 0 attack defense from your deck, and either add it to your hand or destroy it. So guess what? We can blow up a Yubel, and suddenly, you know, we're off to the races. Alright, if a face-up Yubel monster or monsters you control leaves the field by a card effect, you can add to your hand one of your Yubel monsters that is banished or in your graveyard, whose original level is 1 higher or 1 lower than that monster that left the field, and then you can special summon ignoring its summoning conditions. Oh boy. Also, this deck is just basically a super polydot deck. You gotta remember, you basically attempt to fuse all of your opponent's monsters that you possibly can into yours with the big Yubel, and then just kind of attempt to clean up the game from there. I also see we're playing 1 Dark World Puppetry here as well. And this is cool. This deck was playing 1 copy of the Umbrella. 1 normal summon, we can discard 1 card, target a level 4 lower monster in the graveyard, special summon in defense position, but negate its effects. And then for the rest of this turn, you cannot special summon from the extra deck except for Synchro monsters. But hey, this gets a free little revive along the way, I suppose. I don't know, this is kind of a cute little idea. So we're playing 2 copies of the Infernal Grave Squirmer. Most of the ratios, though, for this build, I think are fine. You know, you see, we have a mini Unchained package, and we also get to play Valdrath in here. Valdrath, the fact that you can stick 2 Yubel monsters together to make this little terrifying creature is actually pretty cool. Kind of a shame that we don't get to play the Yubel, the Ultimate Nightmare, but let's call it what it is. Being able to step on into Terror Incarnate for the deck actually, I think, is pretty fine. You know, you're not trying to bulk down the deck too much, so amazing to see. Next up here, we have Melodious. Now, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. When we first saw the Melodious cards, I was a little bit on the fence on things. I mean, generic pendulum scales are one thing, but the things we definitely needed were the extra deck power-ups. I did hear from a few Melodious players that they were like, oh, you know, I don't know if we're going to necessarily play these. Well, coming out of the OCG this week was our first real results of this. So yeah, you're actually maximizing on the scales, 3 of each, and then, you are playing 1 copy of the Concerto, which was your new fusion spell, which is actually pretty cool that they did allow you to use the pendulum scales to fuse with this. It was something that left a little bit to be desired, but I do think, for the most part here, that, like, this was a pretty good idea for this. Now, one other thing that this deck does have that, you know, Salaman Great has been flaunting off all last format was the fact that you are able to use Kaiser Coliseum to basically set up 1 boss monster and not allow your opponent the chance to play the game. Now, we've seen a lot of Kaiser Coliseum in a lot of these side decks, and it's becoming more and more apparent that Kaiser is a little bit of a problem. Also, this card has an entire ruling nightmare behind it. Like, if you've looked up Kaiser Coliseum in the past, you'll have an idea of what I'm talking about here. But holy crap, man, like, this card is just so crazy. Hand traps, still can't believe the OCG only has 1 Herald of Orange Light, but call it what it is at this point in time. You know, people definitely, they're going to aim towards this, which is fine to play. You know, you rest your hand traps, fine, except for you. All right, outside of that, I don't see anything else really too crazy. Most of your options in this deck are going to be pretty strong to actually control the meta. Okay, what else we got back here? Now, this is a super heavy Samurai Centurion deck. Now, before you're like, stop it, Robbie, you're just coping, you're just trying to get people to want to play the new stuff. Honestly, the new stuff kind of flowed pretty well into this deck. Basically, our Skara here, this is the one that lets you add on summon, protects your spells and traps, and then during the end phase you can place a banished or in the graveyard face up in the spell and trap card zone as a continuous trap, which then, you know, lets you do the little stepping stones. My only problem was this doesn't feel like it fixed a lot of the problems, but it does, you know, speed things up and allow you to get to Blazar. Like, It is, at this point in time, like, the entire purpose is just blaze our turbo through this at this point in time. They don't really play the Red Supernova Dragon, which I don't know why the OCG just doesn't like Red Supernova at all. I think that Red Supernova is one of those cards that tends to help things out along the way here, but they just choose not to play it. So it is kind of cool to see that Synchro Rumble is getting some love out here. You know, once again, I mean, when you make the Crimson Dragon, you have a free search out of your deck, you know, and then at that point, it's just a free monster reborn. You may as well. I don't know how much these scales actually do help the deck. I think it's a cool idea that you're actually able to play them. And it's actually pretty good. Also, you know, 95% more searchability in terms of this seems pretty good. You know what I mean? So good stuff to actually see this coming together. Next up here, we have our first look at tier. Hold on here. Why are there... We chose to play tier monsters in our Snake Eyes Ash Flamberg deck. Okay, first of all, you are trying so many ideas here just to cope in the OCG, just to try to have this deck still work. I mean, A, for, you know, trying, I guess. Like, this did manage to succeed in its event, which is pretty cool. But the fact that we're using Weiss here, now remember, this lets you place another Lightsworn from your hand on the top of your deck, and then special summon this, and then you can mill 2. Alright, well, the only other Lightsworn that... I mean, we have a lot of bricks in here, man. Like, the fact that you're doing... What are the odds that you're going to open up Weiss plus this, I suppose? But if this is sent to the graveyard and target a Lightsworn in your graveyard, special summon it, man, everything revolves around that idea that you're going to see that other Lightsworn monster. I don't know. I don't like the idea of what they're trying to do here, but I do suppose that I can't knock the results, because it just feels like this is a logistics nightmare, and you could probably optimize this a little bit better along the way for those better results, but this is the OCG we're talking about. They tend to love some of the craziest ideas out here. Next up here, we have, you know, the Nightmare Apprentice actually got the chance to see its first line of play out here. Now remember, it's discard a card. Special summon this card. Alright, and then if this card is normal or special, you can add any illusion monster from your deck to your hand. And personally, I think this card is really good. And then if this card battles a monster, remember, neither of them can be destroyed by battle. This is a 2,000 attack point monster, which is pretty good. I also see down here, this build did opt for some Shaddoll support. With the good old Ariel. Okay, that's pretty normal. I guess we're just making Shekanaga, I feel like. Oh, yeah, we're not even doing Winda or anything like that. Okay, well, that's kind of interesting. But I guess, once again, the value that you get out here off of Shek ends up being pretty good. Also, you know, it being an Earth Plus monster, guess what? You know, hi, guys. Hi, Gazelle. Yeah, you're able to mill off, you know, some of these other cards. Really wish we could mill off this good card, but unfortunately, we cannot. So yeah, not a lot of change out here to the Illusion archetype, you know, or at least the Chimera deck. Like, and no matter how you want to look at things, this is still a Chimera deck. This build opted to not play the new Snake Eye little support card, but this build is also playing the Dark Barrier statue. Keep in mind, being able to revive this off of the Berfelmet down here, this one is so stupid good. Like, I've seen this barrier statue just win free games. And last but not least here, we have Novox. Yes, the Ritual deck actually did perform up to some sort of standard over the weekend here, because they got the blessings of the Voiceless Voices. Let you target one of your Voiceless Voice cards that is banished or in your graveyard, except this card, add it to your hand. And if a non-ritual monster is normal or special, you can activate this effect. You can ritual summon a light dragon or warrior ritual from your hand by attributing monsters from your hand and or field whose total level equal or exceed that monster. And if you do, it cannot be destroyed by battle. That's very, very important here. Like, the free little battle clause on one of these is actually, it's free. I'll take it. So outside of that, like, actually kind of happy to see that this one little card actually got a chance to move on in here. And yes, yeah, Shaddoll Schism plays because of the Maximus. Pretty normal, I feel like. So, what do you guys think about these decks this week? I'm genuinely impressed to see what they were coming up with. And honestly, I think some of these ideas are going to carry over in the future here, especially, you know, Yubel kind of sitting at the dinner table now. It's actually pretty good. You guys have a good rest of your day, all right? Peace out. patrons. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.